let's jump in this puppy. So
All
there's a
right.
lot of things going on in the world, ladies and gentlemen. If you did not know, there's all kinds of craziness going on. But we will start with, so before we get into talking about the Fair Tax Act, right? Did you see the like electric rocks they found in Congo?
Electric rocks. No, I
Yeah.
didn't see the electric
So
rocks.
apparently in the Congo, they found these rocks, this mineral that is electric, like it gives off electric power. Like to
Uh-huh.
the point where two of these little rocks can actually power like, or like a little rock can power a light bulb. You know what I'm saying? And then they have like, I think they said something like a kilogram of it or something like that is able to power like, or no, I think it said 10 kilograms can power a house for like 2 months or something like that. So basically, they found these rocks that have the ability to be able to give off electricity. I did some research on it, and it's a combination of minerals. So shoot, I forgot the mineral just that quick, but it's like quartz and this other mineral. Apparently, the combination of those two with the compression causes an electric charge, and so these rocks actually give off their own electricity. And so you can literally put coils on each side of the rock. And congratulations, there you have it. You have your own little rock battery.
I
And
think I think I think they just found the early beginnings of that's where Wakanda was hiding at.
yeah,
That's where the
vibranium.
electric rocks were.
Yeah, they were talking about that vibranium. We officially found vibranium. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of making a little move. It came over the weekend. There was a video of these guys. They found it in Congo, and they were putting coils on it and putting light bulbs on it. And so here's the thing. Now here's the thing. As you and I both know, when new materials and new minerals are something that could be very valuable or very detrimental to the system show up, we should be on the lookout for what?
War.
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 On the lookout of
Well, I mean,
war and
what was it? It was like 6 months back or so that they found a bunch of gold in Africa too. They found like one of the biggest gold deposits that they found in years. It was
yeah,
like, I want to say it was
yep,
like 15 trillion or maybe a
yeah,
billion. One of the aliens.
mm-hmm,
And so like that's something that they're dealing with right now. And unfortunately for Africa, they have like one of the most unstable governments throughout that most of
yeah,
those countries that they have on that continent. And so people always, whether it's the US, China's really big in Africa now. Russia's been
yeah,
been known to be in Africa, and these larger countries are like, hey, we'll come in and we'll help you mine it, we'll help you do this, and then it's basically like a new version of colonization. Um, and it's
yeah,
basically just to sap because the Western world uses these mineral
yeah,
these resources
yeah,
up
yeah,
at a crazy rate. One of the reasons
right,
that we probably stayed in Afghanistan for so long is because it has the largest deposits of lithium in the world.
yeah,
Um, and everything's going electric, and everything that's electric needs these lithium batteries. So now you have,
right,
that's why, you really couldn't figure out a real reason like why we were still fighting in Afghanistan in 2015.
right,
Like you didn't
yeah,
have a real good reason.
yeah,
And now that we're gone, they want us back.
right.
They want us back. The Taliban's like, hey, come back, come open your embassy back up.
Well,
Come on back.
but it also doesn't help that the country's been handed over to the bad guys. So you know,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Um,
I think that. But then again, what is the bad guys, right? That's relative.
I guess
Uh,
I guess that's super subjective
right.
depending on where you're living at right now.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
I guess technically I'm the bad guy right now, being here in Iraq, but
Yeah.
um,
This,
I guess we stopped
it
being
all
the good
depends on
guys a
your
long
vantage
time ago.
point.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Um,
tell you this.
but
I'll
yeah,
tell you this is I think what I found interesting is that in Africa recently they were talking about how because people kept coming and taking minerals and stuff from Africa, taking just kind of really raping the country, to be honest,
mm,
raping the continent
mm,
rather.
yeah,
One of the things was I forget what country it was in particular, but it's one of the major exporters of cocoa because most of the cocoa comes from over there, chocolate.
yeah,
And so what they've decided to do is they're no longer they announced it at the one of the world economic meetings, world government meetings or whatnot, what's his name? Prime Minister, they announced that they would no longer allow people to export cocoa to be able to produce chocolate all over the world. And so basically what's happening now is that hired, they decided to use their resources to hire some of these high-end scientists, manufacturers, all that kind of stuff, and bring them to Africa. I forget what country in particular, because I don't want to say Africa because it's a continent, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
they brought them in to basically create their own force, create their own exposition of goods. And so now you're talking about they're creating chocolate inland, and now they can charge whatever they want to be able to make themselves a world power. You see what I'm saying? So now you're looking at you're looking at now, they're trying to push away and become their own sovereign nation to be able to produce and keep the minerals because they've been taking stuff from Africa for years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now they're saying, nah, that's dead. We're gonna produce our
Yeah.
own stuff, and then you can come buy chocolate. You can, and it's crazy that it's a war over chocolate, but you can come buy chocolate from us. We can, but the cocoa can come from us. And then you can come get it from us instead of
Yeah.
us giving it to you for dirt cheap, and then you go spend and make millions and billions and trillions of dollars, and none of it goes back to the countries. You know, so it's pretty crazy how a lot of countries in Africa are beginning to say, you know what, and see, it starts like that. One doesn't, now it spreads, and so then they all stand up and say, you know what, no, we got some minerals. No, we good. We're strong. We got some stuff going
Yeah,
on.
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
If,
So
if
they're
they
doing a
can
lot of
capitalize,
pushback.
I mean, by all rights, like African continent should be one of the most powerful, richest continents that we have on Earth,
Absolutely.
just because they have, they have a monopoly on minerals and precious metals and stuff that we use. And it's just, because if you go back in history, because of all the colonization and everything, like, we didn't exactly set them up for success back in the day.
Right.
Those countries came in and while they were colonizing a lot, while they were actually trying, like when I say colonize, I mean like actually setting up there and setting up governments and setting up resources. But when all that started to turn over in like the 50s, 60s, and 70s, like everything collapsed. I'm actually reading a book right now. It's called the Dingo Firestorm. It's about the Rhodesian Bush Wars, talking about like the SAS and the Rhodesian Light Infantry fighting fighting in Mozambique and stuff like that against the communists and everything. And just when you read through like all the political instability that was going on, because the reason they were so destabilized is because you had, once again, we were using it as a proxy war. You had the Western world preaching democracy and freedom and stuff like that. Britain, France, the United States was heavily involved. Most of Europe was, but then you also had the Russians and the Chinese that were really involved, and that's where all the communism came from. And the specific book I'm reading is about one specific raid. It was the biggest raid that they did.
Right.
But it just goes to show you that like all these other influences on these other countries, if they would have stayed, that's one thing. But everybody pulled out, and then it just it descends and it's been in chaos for like the last 40 years.
Right, and then it creates a vacuum, because so then when you just pull out, now all of a sudden you have the government collapses. You have economically, socially, culturally, and you got people who can just come in and just raid whatever they can. You know what I mean? So it's really an interesting situation, But I tell you, I think at the end of the day, I'm like, let's just get back to the days of you create your own stuff. You want to barter, we want to share, cool, we can share, we can trade, and then we go back to our life, you know what I mean? But the problem is that we are so caught up in we need to be the bigger, better, best. You know what I mean? We need to be in complete and total control. We need to make sure that people are doing what I want them to do. We need to make sure that think about this. You got your own issues in your own country, but yet you're going over here and destabilizing this one just so you can benefit this area. And you're going to ignore what's going on over here. And I think that in itself is such a crazy thing, man. It's unfortunate that we would. It's unfortunate that we would.
It's like throwing a rock in a glass house, man. Because we sit there and we try to push agendas on these other countries. On the forefront, that's what we say. We're pushing the agenda. We're trying to bring freedom or bring democracy or bring communism, whatever side of the aisle that you're on. And then all of a sudden it turns into like, what can we get out of this country that's going to benefit us? Everybody's always saying that like we invaded Iraq over oil. Like, that was a fucking lie, because we didn't get no oil from that country. Because I guarantee we'd have a bigger presence here in Iraq, and we would have a much better system for getting oil into our own country. And that just makes sense, but that's just not the way it works. That's the way the big companies are going to let it happen. And there's a whole book about it, written by a Marine like way back in the day. Smedley Butler wrote a book called War is a Racket. This is back in like the early 19-teens, where he's talking about like we go to war and then the people just get rich. If you look at the war in Ukraine, there's already companies that are bidding on, the contracting companies that are bidding on to go and rebuild the infrastructure. The war's going to end. Someone's got to rebuild it. Someone's going to make money.
Remember, war is profitable. That at the end of the day, war is profitable, and that's why there are people who profit from starting war. Like there's a reason why. The reality is that almost, I would say, I mean, you're talking about a good, I would say 80% of the wars that we have fought in history have been over somebody's greed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You talk most of the war or control or hunger for power or something along those lines. It's very few real conflicts can you find that are really based off truly gaining some type of freedom or
Yeah.
gaining some type of liberation. Most of them have been geared toward somebody's encroaching their power or encroaching on this country to take them for
Yeah.
something, or they just want to grow. You know what I mean? So it's unfortunate, but you know that's unfortunate. The state of the human race at this particular juncture, because our
I don't.
hearts have lost all the truth.
I don't have any faith in humanity anymore. So I'm just trying to get by with it.
Hey, I
Um.
just love God, love people, man. That's all I can do, man. But hey, so let's talk about this Fair Tax Act, man.
All right.
So
So when I came across it, I honestly I scrolled past it. I think I was reading Yahoo News one morning, laying in bed contemplating on my life decisions that led me to be a contractor. And I was like, man, the first thing, the headline was abolish the IRS, which I'm 100% about. Like, get rid of them. All right. You start reading into it, and I see pros and I see cons because it's broad enough to where it can be worked with, but it's too broad to where it still leaves me with a lot more questions than I do answers. So obviously getting rid of income tax is something I'm very big off of because I don't think the income tax system, I don't think it's fair, to be honest with you.
right,
There's nothing fair about the middle class is the class that is always going to get hammered the most when it comes to taxes,
right,
because even if it's a consumer tax, we're big consumers, and if it's an income tax, we're taxed at several different brackets at once, and we don't have access to the to the abilities for the loopholes and everything. The more money you
right,
make, the more money you can give away, the more money you can save.
right.
Basically, when you get up to those those millions and billions of dollars. So I like that. What I didn't like though is it doesn't specifically say they're going to get rid of state sales or state income tax.
Right,
That's something that they left out of there.
right,
And like I live in Louisiana, so we have a state income
right,
tax. So am I going to be paying that 23 to 30%, consumption tax or whatever tax they
right. In
decide to actually
addition
call
to,
it, in addition to my state taxes? So that's one of the cons that I see is it doesn't specifically say anything about that. But one of the other major pros that I like is that they're not going to tax you on used goods. So like if you go to garage sales or you sell something to your neighbor, if it's a used good, there's no taxes involved. So if you're smart enough,
right,
in theory, the way it's starting to set up is if you're smart enough, you don't have to pay a lot of
right.
taxes.
You'll live off of used goods.
You can live off of
So
used goods.
So real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, but for
Go
those
ahead.
who don't know, for the people who are listening in and maybe are not up on the latest what's going on, right now there's a bill being pushed forward called the Fair Tax Act. And basically what it is essentially wanting to get rid of the IRS, get rid of all the payroll taxes, and get rid of all of those things, and basically come to a high sales tax for consumers. And it would be a broad, one-shot, you know, increased sales tax, but it would cover all of you would get all your, payroll taxes and get all that stuff back. So there'd be no more IRS, no more, filing your taxes, no more payroll taxes, none of that stuff. That would go away,
Hmm.
and I think in the grand scheme, I would say that's going back to a pure form of a tax system,
Yeah.
where and we could argue the equity of it. You know what I mean? I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, everybody pays, because I read a couple different figures. Some say 23%, some people say 25%, some people say 30% for the sales tax. So
Yeah.
now, mind you, when you hear that, immediately you're like, wait a minute, 30% sales tax, y'all tripping. You know what I mean? But if you really, yeah, 30% sales tax does seem like a lot, but when you factor in the fact that you don't have to pay payroll taxes, you don't have to, those go away. Your income taxes, when you factor in all of that goes away, you're really only increasing how much you're spending, losing, a couple percent.
So,
Uh,
so I'm taxed between the taxes that I pay over here. I'm taxed around 44 to 46% a year, roughly.
yeah,
All right, which is a lot.
right,
So if you're telling me that I'm only going to have to pay 30% of the goods that I purchase, because I'm already paying a sales tax on everything that I buy. There's already a tax
right,
worked in. So I can go from paying 44, guaranteed to have to pay 44% taxes every year out of my wages, or I can kind of dictate my future, and I can take that 30% or 23%. We'll see where it falls, and I have control of my fate of how much I need. You know what I'm saying? So if
yeah,
anything, it'll teach people to be a little more
Yeah.
conservative with their money. I
Yeah.
hate to use the word conservative,
You
but
won't just spend it all willy-nilly. You figure you
now
go, you,
obviously, I think so what they really need to do to put this into effect and make it successful is, one, it needs to be a very easy to read and understand bill. So when it goes through, it should replace our tax code, and it should be very black and white. It should be, I don't know, 20 pages long, maybe at the most. And I should be able to go to the section and be like, this is how much money I make. This is how much taxes. One of the other things they're talking about every month you're going to get a stipend. So if you're like, you make like $100,000 a year, your consumption tax on that, you're going to get a stipend every month because they want you to spend money. So it's going to be dependent on you spending money. So they're going to send you money to make you spend money. All right. So at the end of the day, I think it comes out to 10%.
Right.
Yeah, around 10%. So they're going to give you 10% of what they think you're going to spend based off of your consumption, and put that back into the economy. Spending is what stimulates the economy. Taxes doesn't stimulate the economy, because you're going to spend a lot less if you get taxed.
Correct, exactly. And I think it's interesting though, because it's like, and of course, it's just like when you get your tax refund. Think about it. People get all the tax refunds, and they're like, "Oh snap! I'm finna go buck wild and go buy all this stuff and everything." And it's like, well, you do know that's not helping you. Actually, you're actually spending the money that you already spent back again. So, or like when you do Black Friday sales, you know what I mean? You think you're getting a deal, but you're actually not getting a deal. They're just marking it up and then discounting it, But I think that in the long run, I like the idea of having a flat tax rate and not trying to get into the nuance of, okay, well, these people make this and these people make this and these people make this, because then you kind of start dabbling in a little bit of socialism action. You start dabbling into you start mixing and blending, and then how do you quantify who's doing what? And because I mean, you figure, because think about it, and the fun thing about it is, I have noticed, and this is just kind of a side note, I have noticed that people who make more money oftentimes get a bad rap for not paying taxes. But the thing about it is that they're doing the very things that the tax codes allow them to do, in the loopholes that they're doing, and they're doing the same thing that poor people do. Only difference is it's just for a much greater amount. And so they get looked at like, oh, you're rich and you don't pay no taxes. Well, actually, I do pay taxes. I pay way more taxes than you could even fathom. And then on top of that, I'm using the same loopholes that you use in order to get tax breaks. So I just want to mention that for people who are like on that mindset of like, oh, rich people, you rich people should be paying more taxes. Well, they actually pay like 80% of the taxes in the United States. So
they pay a lot more taxes than we pay. You know what I'm saying? And I think that what that is it's a misinformation campaign. Is that they want people to hate rich people. They want people to hate CEOs. I'm not going to sit here and defend them and say that they're like great guys. You know what I'm saying? I don't know them personally. But at the same time, if you start a business, if you put all your money into business, you take all the risk, you get to reap the reward. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I deserve somebody else's money. I want to know how I get there. That's what I want to know. I want to get rich. Okay. So you tell me how I need to invest my money and how I can get up to that level. All right. It's not that I believe in the trickle down method. I just don't believe that you should take anything from anybody else. So if you make it, then it's your money. You should get to keep as much of it as you possibly can.
And you have a right to do with it what you want.
Absolutely, 100%. I'm too much of a libertarian to sit here and debate that, oh, we need to tax the rich. I was like, we don't need to tax anybody. How about that? How about we all just stop paying our taxes? Until they come to the table and give us a better deal. Because that's essentially what it is. It's just a bad deal for all of us. And then at the end of the year, for not only do they tax you all year, but then at the end of the year, you have to justify and prove to them that they took out the correct amount. And if you mess it up, you go to jail, or you get fined, or you get then you get in trouble. And they put all these things in place saying that, like, especially the Democrats, like, we're going to make the rich pay their fair share. Nobody under this amount of money is going to get taxed. That was a lie. Then the first thing they do is they're like, hey, if you make over $600 on any of these Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, you're getting a tax form. So you tell me if you think Elon Musk even uses Venmo. You know what I'm saying?
Doubt it. They don't even think about that.
He probably doesn't even touch money. You know what I'm saying? People like that don't even carry a wallet. Carries a phone.
They got people who handle that stuff. Yeah. It's crazy.
One more thing. The only thing that hurts, that taxes, is the people that are trying to make a little extra to get by. Those people that
Yeah.
work a decent job, but it's just not enough to get ahead. They're always just
Right.
with their neck above water. So they have a garage sale, or they have like a little side business, and
Right.
they're making a couple extra $1,000s a month, which in the scheme of the world is nothing to the
Correct.
government. When they're spending
Correct.
billions a week. If John makes an extra $2,000 that month and he gets to take his family on a vacation, more power to him. I
Yeah.
would
No,
never
for
turn
sure.
a guy in.
Yeah, I think that I think that's that whole idea of anything over $600 and we're gonna tax you for it and this kind of stuff. And if you remember, they talked about how if you make over 400,000, they were talking about taxing you like 65%.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, that's insane to me. Like it's like, and what's funny is people who advocate for that. And my thing is it's not necessarily a dig or a support of any particular party, but this is people who support that type of thinking or that thought process. Imagine if you were in that position, and I think that's the thing we have to remember. If you were in that position and you made $1 million and somebody came knocked on your door and said, "Hey, congratulations for making your $1 million. Now give me 650,000 to go
yeah,
toward fill in the blank." And then you add to the fact, what really bothers me the most though, is all the people who talk about like, oh, the 1% and the rich and da 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 da, they need to pay the. You do understand these people, you are the 1%. The people who are pushing these ideologies are the very people that they're talking about. The people who are coming to the people saying, yo, yeah, these rich folks, they ain't paying no taxes. They ain't doing this. And you deserve this, this, and this, and this. And those rich folks, and da, 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 da. And if you make more than 400,000, you should be getting taxed. But every single person that's advocating this makes more than 400,000. I mean, you're talking about people who are millionaires. I mean, you're talking about everybody, almost everybody in Congress, almost everybody in the doggone White House is a millionaire. And it trips me out when they push this bleeding heart, like, oh, I'm here to give and give and give. And
exactly.
no, you're not. Like, how
They
do you
push
come
it.
and
They push it like that because they want people. They want me and you to sit down and first of all, they want me and you to be mad at each other if one of us
right,
makes more money than the other, and then if we don't, they want us to get together and be like, well, we need to go take money from that guy because obviously he's making more money, and if you make more money, then you have to take care of people that don't make that much money, and like that's just not the way it works.
right,
That's not the way it should work. You should not be punished for being productive or coming up with a
right,
product.
right.
You want to tax somebody? You want to take somebody's money? Dude, tax these OnlyFans girls. I mean, you want to talk about people that are making a bunch of money not doing anything,
Yeah,
which blows my
yeah,
mind because like,
yeah.
bro, like
But
just
see,
look at porn. It's free.
but that goes, yeah, but see, that goes into it's the darker side of the consumerism, right? It's the
Yeah,
darker side of consumerism. It's we become such an American Idol society. We become so superficial and things like that that our priorities are so broken
yeah,
that and our hearts, not only that our priorities are so broken and our hearts are so empty that we're willing to think about it, sacrifice our house and home and car to pay for a video of this girl that I probably will never meet in real life, or
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Or think about it, people making thousands of dollars for feet. You know what I mean? It's like these are the types of things that I mean we our priorities are so jacked up. And I'm not saying and I'm all forgiving. If you have it, I do believe you are blessed to be a blessing. Like I believe it. I believe that if you worked and you got your money, you got your millions, all that kind of stuff. You don't make all this money just to have a bigger house, bigger car, island and all that kind of stuff. If you want to have that, that's cool. But at the same time, I do think that we can open our hearts and our arms up. But here's me, it's my choice to do that. You see what I'm saying? I have a right to do with my money what I would like to do with it. You know what I'm saying? My biggest thing is I advocate that if you have it, to give it when you can, when you want to, all that kind of stuff. But what I don't agree with is government regulation saying that I have to give it. I don't agree with government regulating how much I'm allowed to make. And if I make more than that, you're going to, like you said, punish me. Like that doesn't work. You know what I mean? And what you do is you guess what? You want to talk about getting money out of the country? That's the easiest way. You start taxing people just because they're being successful. Guess what? Why do you think they have these accounts over in the Cayman Islands and Switzerland and all? Why do you think they take all their money out of here? Why do you think they take their manufacturing over here? Because it's virtually impossible to be able to be successful and productive and maintain that which you produced.
Hmm.
Because because the government has decided they want to regulate it.
You see a lot of business. You see a lot of these small businesses that get big. They'll start off like T-shirt companies or whatnot. These products are like American made, American made. But when you're buying them and you realize it, you're buying a $40 T-shirt, a regular $40 T-shirt, because the cost to make that The process to make that one
Right.
T-shirt is so exponential here. When they could, if they just, if they send it overseas to be made, they build a factory overseas, they're making it for pennies on the dollar now. Now, is that
Right.
right? That's a subjective thing. That's a whole different moral code.
Right.
But you're going to sit here and you want American businesses to come back. You want more jobs. Well, you have to make it profitable. That's the whole point. Is it supposed to be profitable? Why would I start a business just to
Right.
struggle my whole life? That doesn't sound
Right.
like a dream. That's not
Right.
the American dream, is to start a business
Right.
and then have to worry about paying my bills or buying groceries. Absolutely
Yeah.
not.
And,
Now, I was reading one thing that, and this
yeah.
this is because I'm not a senior. I wasn't thinking about it. They say it would be unfair for seniors who have already paid income taxes. They've already paid into the system and they're all going to be on fixed income. I feel like that's an easy fix. I feel like there's an easy way to I don't think we need to tax senior citizens. Whatever age you start drawing your benefits, you probably don't need your money.
Right.
Yeah, your Social Security and everything like that, probably don't need your money anymore. I think that's an easy
Right.
fix. Hopefully the government doesn't overlook it and screw them, because that would make me kind of upset and mad.
Right. Right.
Also they're saying it's probably going to need a new agency to enforce it. I don't think so, because they're saying it's supposed to be it's going to be up to the state to collect. So whatever state tax collectors you have in place, I think that would immediately already fill the bill right there.
Yeah.
And
what's the
then,
difference?
what's the
difference in the system we have now? You go buy something and it's just, you get 7% automatically. So in that case, it's just going to be 25% instead of 7.
Yeah. And I mean, that's also what fears the markup, because I think it states it's supposed to be like, you don't go and it's like 1099 and then they add the taxes. It's supposed to be embedded in the price. Like in Europe, they do that. Like when you buy something,
Okay.
it's not like what price you see it as is the price you pay for it.
Right. But they've added it back into the price.
It makes it a lot easier, for
Right.
us that are bad at math than have
for
to
sure,
sit there and stumble through it.
Yeah.
I also saw an article earlier, saying about how it's going to disproportionately affect poor people. I can see the argument for it, because obviously poor people spend more of their money on goods to get by. But it all goes back into the same math you do when you do income tax. This person who makes $100,000 a year is still going to spend money. Now, if everybody spends 30% of their income, right? So you got $100,000. We'll say $100,000 is the rich, $10,000 is the working class, and $1,000 is the poor. Let's say it's a flat 25% tax, right? So 25% of $1,000, you have to poor. That's $250, right? So that's you're spending $250 on your consumables. You bump that up to $10,000, that's $2,500 that they're spending. So they're still spending. He is spending more money and putting it back into the system. And then your rich people, obviously, if you have $100,000, well, then and they're going to do 25%, well, then that's $25,000. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So this person who's making $100,000, and then the argument is, well, now he still has $75,000 to live off of. So what?
Right.
I'm going to punch.
I think because you got to think the idea is that it's not fair that anybody should be above or below. And I think that's the argument. And unfortunately, that's a very dangerous place to be, because now you get into the equal outcome world. You start getting into, you start getting into the government regulation where, you're only allowed, this is the cap. Everybody needs to be here. And when you say that, now you're talking about, if I'm below, then I need to be lifted up. And if I'm above, I need to be brought down. And that's where you start getting into, that's when you start getting class wars. That's when you start getting all kind of stuff. That's when you start getting communism. That's when you start getting,
Well,
it
sounds good. Communism only sounds good communism and actual socialism only sounds good to people who haven't made it yet. So if you're starting to, and that's why it sounds good to like kids in college and kids in high school, because it kind of takes the whole, like, I don't have to work hard, when I get out of it. I'm going to get taken care of no matter what I do. And that can lead you into the debate on education, on pretty much anything throughout the country, because what it does is it takes away your self-accountability of bettering yourself as a human being, as an adult. You never, in the system that we have now is absolutely flawed, but there's still room for success. If you apply yourself, you will be successful, and you're going to fail. You're going to fail a lot. And we talked about this at length before, about how these younger generations are not as good with coping with failure and obstacles as the generations. Just like, I mean, I'm sure like the World War II generation thought like the world was going to end, and like they made it. And now we look at our problems and we're like, and they're like, those aren't even problems. And I get it. Like,
Right.
that's just the way it goes.
Right.
As technology and society moves forward, things get easier for its population. And so that's how, you know, and we all look back on the generation behind us. We're like, you don't even know what it was like to have dial-up internet. You know, you don't know what it's like to go,
Right.
you know, and not have a cell phone. Like, what did you do when you were in the bathroom? You know, you read a book. That's what you did. You brought a book, or you read the back of a can.
Right.
You know, or
Right.
the potpourri can. Like, that's what you did. You didn't get to play Candy
Right.
Crush. But yeah, it's this attacking. You know, everyone's so focused on the rich, which is such a small portion of the population, that we forget that it's the middle and working class that gets slammed every time there's a change in taxes.
Right.
Like, they absolutely get ate up. And it's terrible. That's why you can't live off of $70,000 a year. Like, $70,000 a year used to be that's it. You didn't have to work that hard. That's it. You worked your 9 to 5. You made $50,000 to $70,000 a year. You owned a car. You owned your house. You owned all this stuff. You could still go on vacations. Our cost of living has gone up, but also, like, our needs have gone up. You have to have cell phones. You have to have internet. You know, most people have to drive to work. Now we're moving into the age of, well, you don't have to go to work. You can work from home for a lot of these jobs.
Yeah.
You know,
which is messing stuff. It is flipping the whole system upside down.
Those people who don't have to go to work are not going to consume. I mean, not have to leave to go to work, are going to consume a lot less. They should be keeping a lot more of their money. They should be excited about this. If you're an influencer or someone who does everything on the internet, you should absolutely be excited about this. What are they going to tax you on? Your light bill? Your energy bill?
Yeah. Now here's the other side of that, right? Because being in the house, the working from home and the being in the crib and all kind of stuff, what that did lead to, it led to a major jump in online purchases, in like Amazons and your eBays and all that kind of stuff. So if that goes across the board, and it's not just physical consumption, but it's actually online purchases and all that kind of stuff too, you could be looking at a whole nother level. And when we talk about consumerism, you look at the virtual world, because now you got people that are purchasing things in the virtual world. Yeah. So does it extend all the way there? So you're talking about they're purchasing property in the like you're purchasing virtual property. They're virtual shoes and virtual, like, you're actually purchasing this stuff virtually. Like, how do you even regulate that? And if that's the case, if we're going to switch to a all tax sales tax thing, are we switching to virtual taxation as well? Does that mean your subscription? Right. Your online subscription, now you get taxed. I mean, like, there's so many different aspects to it. And I think that in order for us to really be effective and move forward in a way that's going to benefit the world, benefit us, benefit the nation, all that stuff, one, people need to be educated on it. People need to understand how this stuff works. Because I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they jump on things that sound good without actually reading the fine print.
Yeah, people. I see people on the internet arguing over this, and I see people, you know, around my work, like, we've been talking about it a lot and stuff like that. And, like, go read about it. Go read about what's out. I mean, this is probably not everything that's out. It's probably going to have changes, and honestly, it's probably not going to pass the House. It's going to get voted down. It's not a Democratic bill. They don't want this. Biden already said he's going to veto it if it comes to his desk. So, I mean, I kind of feel like it's dead in the water, but the fact that we're talking about it is good. It says it was first introduced in 1999, which obviously I don't even remember 1999 because I was like 9 years old, 10 years old. So it's like, that's kind of, you know, but, like, now it's here, and now we have the internet, and now people can talk about it and debate about it, and it should be less debates and more discussions. Like, okay, so here's the groundwork. Like, here's the groundwork. All right. We can argue over it all we want, but, like, if you don't like it, what makes it better? Like, what benefits the most people to what can we put in here? Like, I read that stuff about senior citizens. Cool. Let's talk about it. How do we protect our senior citizens? You know, how can people that make less income or on a fixed income, how can we make this benefit them? And I think there's always a way to get around it, as opposed to just attacking each other. Like, you hate poor people. Like, I don't hate poor people. Poor people have never done anything to me, you know?
I mean, I think here's the thing. Like, if we get away from, I think we have to get away from my position is right and your position is wrong. We have to get to the place of, okay, if I'm discussing this, okay, if you don't like this, like you said, what is your solution? Okay, if you don't like this portion, what is your solution? You know what I'm saying? If you think this is wrong, what is your solution? If you think, you know what I'm saying, if this doesn't make sense to you, okay, what is your solution? Let's discuss solutions. Let's discuss compromise. Let's discuss understanding as opposed to just saying, well, I don't like this. And you know, you got a lot of people right now, and the sad reality is, and we talked about this a little bit before, is that the sad reality is a lot of people are saying they don't like it just because the Republicans brought it up. And it's like,
Polarization.
and it's like, guys, like, get out of the two-party system. Get
Yeah.
out of just break free of the matrix. You know what I'm saying? What's your boy Andrew Tate? What he always say, break free of the matrix or
Break
whatever.
free the
You know,
matrix.
break the matrix. Which that hey, he's in a tough spot right now, boy. I don't know if you heard about it. Yeah,
I know he's still in jail in Romania. They're trying to bring a bunch of charges that he was sex trafficking, which
sex trafficking, organized crime organization,
I'll say
organized
right now,
crime.
if he's guilty of sex trafficking, then he should burn along with everybody else. I'm not, but if he's innocent, then he needs to be let free.
Right.
That's how I feel about it. If he's guilty, burn. If you're not guilty, go free. You should be innocent until proven guilty. Like, we used to actually believe in that, but now
Right.
you're guilty as soon as someone
Guilty
says
is your proven innocent. Absolutely.
the problem is the internet is so muddled with this disinformation that finding the actual truth is really, really hard. You know, what you think is the truth may not be the whole truth, and what you think is a lie, it might be a little bit of a lie. Maybe it's not all a lie, you know?
Right. It's just laced. It's laced. You know what I'm saying? I think, and here's the other crazy part about it is the fact is that, unfortunately, in many aspects and in many circles, we don't even want truth anymore. I mean, we don't even want truth because truth brings accountability. And here's the thing, like, for example, like with Andrew Tate, right? I use that as an example. A lot of people don't like him at all. Like, a lot of people, like, deep in their soul, do not like Andrew Tate. So because of that, oh, we know he's guilty. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what evidence comes out. I know he's guilty. And when you do that, that's not fair to you. That's not fair to him. And that's not fair to society in general. Because when you have this idea that because I don't like something, I don't care what's true or not. It doesn't. Like, I think I told you this. I was like, some people are to a point where they won't believe things no matter how true it is.
Yeah.
You know, simply because I don't like it, simply because it's uncomfortable, simply because it bothers me. And the reality is, or simply because it challenges my perspective, it challenges my life, my world. It's going to make me rethink how I operate. If I accept that truth, I'm denying myself. And so therefore, I just can't do it. Or I'm going to be rejected by my people, or I'll be exiled by my community, or whatever the case is. And you can't live like that, because all that does is cause the world to crumble. It causes society and culture to erode from the inside out. And we have to get to a place where, you know what, I can have my opinion, but truth is the ultimate judge. You know, like I said, we got to be educated. We got to think. That's the thing. We got to start thinking again. That's what I always talk about. We got to start thinking again, bro.
Yeah, we stopped thinking. We stopped thinking years ago. We stopped thinking. I want to say right around the Obama era is we became so infatuated with feel good. We want to feel good. We want to feel good in the moment. We want that instant gratification, and we are very much an instant gratification society. You know, you can blame Netflix on it. You can blame Amazon on it, because when we want it, we get it, and we get it relatively fast. And that's psychologically that makes you not want to work. So what do you have to do when you're searching for the truth? You have to work for it. You have to go read up on it. You have to talk to multiple people from multiple point of views. And when you're proven wrong, you know, instead of just accepting that you're wrong, it's always, but what about? You know, well, the person that I really, you know, am passionate about did this, but you're like, oh, but what about this that they did? Right. You know, it's no longer taking self accountability. It's always trying to pass off some portion of that blame on this. I did this because you did this. Right. Not you did this to me. This is how it made me feel. I reacted poorly and did this. Right. And that all ties in together. Ties in. You know, when we talk about the polarization that we have in this country, like you said, like, I don't like anything this guy says because I just don't like Andrew Tate. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say Andrew Tate's like a great role model. He is the equal reaction to an action that women have been taking for the last 5 to 10 years about bashing men and, you know, trying to raise their value by devaluing men. And that is the reaction. And that's what you have to deal with now. Like, I'm not worried about guys in our 30s becoming like Andrew Tate. I'm worried about kids. You know, your son, your daughters are going to grow up watching people like this. Now there's going to be a reaction to Andrew Tate. You're going to have more more women pop up and talk,
Right.
you know, talk a
Right.
certain way about men, and it's going to go back and forth
Right.
until we just don't even communicate with people anymore.
Right.
You know, you just,
Yeah.
you know,
It's crazy, man.
yeah.
Hey, but Alex, check this out, man. Hey, I hate to cut it short, but I gotta get off here, man. Got something that just came up, brother. So, hey, people, thank y'all for listening. Gotta jump off. Hate to cut y'all off quick, but good stuff, good talking. We'll get more to it. Remember, keep thinking, keep walking, and never walk away from the talking points. You dig? All right,
And
y'all.
if you missed our show, come check us out on YouTube, at the real talking points, all capital letters on the main words, and you'll find us there. We'll leave the link on both of our pages, and this episode will be there when we get to it.
Right. And if you have questions or ideas or things you want to talk about, if you have any topics you want to cover, please let us know. Drop a comment or a message, y'all. All right, y'all.
All right.
Peace.
Have a good one, brother.